The 2022 Italian Grand Prix was controversial for all the wrong reasons. What should have been a competitive and entertaining race between Red Bull and Ferrari became a snooze fest and ended under the dreadful safety car. As we've covered in a recent video on our channel, both Ferrari and Red Bull were understandably pissed about how things ended. But now it seems as though Mercedes has joined the party, calling for the FIA to change its regulations if the situation comes up again. So, what do Mercedes have to say? Will they inevitably bring up Abu Dhabi yet again? And how does the team see the last few races of the season playing out for them? Well, let's talk about it then. But before we do, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on our latest uploads. Now that's out of the way, let's get started. If anybody had any right to say something about safety car restarts, it would be Lewis Hamilton, since the 7-time world champion had his 8th world title slip through his fingers by way of a safety car restart. But we won't get into that now, as that's long past. As mentioned earlier, the Italian Grand Prix ended in such an anticlimactic manner that Lewis has now come out to say the FIA should consider adding laps to the race if it means ending the race in an entertaining and thrilling way. Speaking on his team radio, Lewis would say, in situations like this, they should just extend the race. He would then back up his statements after in his post-race interview, where he would say, I mean, what's the harm in extending it? Naturally, as a racer, you want more time. I wanted to be able to challenge the Ferrari ahead of me and see if I could get another position. But I think, in hindsight, it was probably a good ending. I'm really grateful to have come back from the last row. Speaking of coming back, even though Lewis was able to climb back up the field and finish in P5, the British driver has also said recently that the 2022 season may be his first season without stepping on the top step of the podium. We have to be realistic. That Red Bull is almost unbeatable, Hamilton said. It's going to take some real doing to beat that car. Performance-wise, we've not caught them, and we don't have upgrades coming to enable us to overtake them. So it's going to take some fortune going our way to win. It's not impossible, because we could have beaten them in Budapest. But Max is generally chilled at the front, so you can never tell their true pace. As we speak right now, the best finish Mercedes can expect out of this season is a P2 finish in both the Constructors' and the Drivers' Championships. As the team sits only 35 points behind Ferrari, and George Russell sits only 16 points behind Ferrari's Charles Leclerc. But with a team that has championship or bust mentality, it seems as though Toto Wolff isn't too excited to battle for P2. In his post-race interview, Toto would say, I think you can see that we are on a track that doesn't suit us, and we are clearly third on the road, so positions 3 and 5 is probably the maximum result, said Toto when asked about the team's performance at Monza. As for Hamilton's drive from the back of the grid, he added, it was enjoyable. At the beginning, it looked like he was a little bit stuck, but once the tires came together, he was very quick. And regarding the P2 finish, Toto would say, I think it's all to play for. We just need to do the best every single weekend and see whether we come out second. He would then be asked if a P2 finish would be enough to soften the blow of disappointment of this season. Toto would reply with, maybe a bit, but there are more blows that we are ending up 30 seconds behind the leader, and that is the gap that we need to catch up. But it seems as though Mercedes may be on their back foot in regards to their battle with Ferrari, as George Russell would also reveal that Ferrari's pace had stunned them. George, who had finished on the podium yet again, would say that it was quite a weird weekend for the team. I'm satisfied with the result, not satisfied with the performance, no doubt, said Russell. Strange weekend. We started off on a really strong foot in P1. The car was feeling great, pace was strong, and it just went away from us, and we don't really know why that was. So it was a pretty long, lonely race. The pace wasn't good. It wasn't the most enjoyable one for sure. It definitely wasn't our strongest race of the season by far. But I think the biggest thing was the pace of Ferrari surprised us. We expected Max and the Red Bulls to be competitive, and exactly how they were this weekend and how they were at Spa. But Ferrari caught us by surprise, so that is why we couldn't really fight for that P2. George had inherited second place after Ferrari's Charles Leclerc chose to pit under the VSC up until he pitted for a set of hards on lap 22. Russell would then admit that changing to a set of hards caused him to fall off the pace of both Max and Charles, saying, "I think when we look back, the softs was our most competitive stint. We were sort of between arm's length of the Red Bull and Ferrari at the beginning after the first 20 laps. We put the hard on, tried something different, but it was just uncompetitive, and it wasn't very fun to drive, and it was kind of just trying to bring the car home because it was very on edge, inducing a lot of mistakes. It's not that fun when you can't really lean on the tires and push the car. But as I said on the radio on my in-lap, we are scoring these podiums when the car's fast, we are scoring these podiums when the car is off the pace. We've got to take the positives from that." But like Toto, George would say with full confidence now that the team has finally figured out the W13's taste and that they'll be ready to battle at the front next season. Yeah, I think we understand exactly why at circuits like Zandvoort and Budapest, why we were competitive, and we understand why on circuits like this, Monza, and Spa, we were uncompetitive. That doesn't mean that we can solve the issues overnight, but we've got to keep on developing this car, and next year will sort of be an evolution of this. And I think now we do have a totally clear direction on how to develop the car. We've obviously got a pretty unique design with those side pods. It's not off the cards that we will continue with that design, but it's equally not off the cards that we will totally change philosophy. But ultimately, whether we have the wide side pods or the narrow side pods, that isn't the performance differentiator. There's more to it. And as for the rest of the season, George would say that the chances of the team of winning a race is looking slim, as there are no standout circuits where their W13 could fly. I'm not too sure. There's no standout, I would say, that really springs to mind. Singapore could be interesting, but has been a circuit historically where Mercedes have struggled a little bit. We know that at street circuits this year, we haven't fared so well. I think as a team, we're making a huge amount of progress, and we're understanding the car more and more. Hopefully, as we develop the car further, we can take some further gains. I would probably say maybe Austin. Austin could be a circuit that suits us, but I truly don't know. George would also echo Toto's sentiments, saying that a P2 finish isn't enough with a team of their caliber. It doesn't mean a huge amount, to be honest. We're here to win. Nobody remembers who finishes second in the championship. If you give me a choice between winning a couple of races this year and finishing outside the top 3, or winning no races and finishing second, I would choose the race win. We're definitely in it for the team. We're going to try and beat Ferrari in the championship, but for me, I'm here to win. And unfortunately, that's a bit out of reach in terms of the championship. And there you have it, guys. So should the FIA consider adding laps to a race that is looking like it'll end under the safety car? How would you grade Mercedes' season? Let us know in the comments section below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't.